Good evening, and welcome to Inside the Actor's Mind with your host, John Sarno. Tonight's special guest, Miss Delia Salvi, actor, author, director, coach, and consultant, and full professor of theater, film, and television at UCLA. She holds a PhD in theater history and dramatic criticism.
The Italian theater
influenced
Stanislavski, correct?
Well,
Eleonora Duse?
Eleonora Duse and Tommaso Salvini.
Right. And your mother was part of the Italian theater.
Yes, but
and
in
then
New York.
She came to New York, right?
Yeah.
And she became a Hollywood film actress.
Then she was brought out here by Warner Brothers. And
tell us what films people can relate to in the history.
in her history?
Yeah, in our film history.
Well,
she worked with Everett G. Robinson.
Oh, she worked with, oh my God, she worked with everybody. Robert Taylor and Ernie Borgnine and, Zora Lampert and, oh my
Do you know
goodness,
Zora
so
Lampert
many
was at
people.
Lincoln Center when I became a spear carrier over there.
Yeah, well, she and Ernie Borgnine did this film called, I forgot the name of it right now, but I'm in it too.
Right.
The film.
Now, how having a mother, Italian mother, raised in the theater, becoming a film actress, how did that in any way affect you? Did she, what I mean by that is, did she tell you anything about acting?
No.
She never did?
No.
So you just got what you got from observation?
Yes.
Because I know in your book, Friendly Enemies, which is the Bible for all directors,
Thank you.
and should be the Bible for all actors, it's just they don't know about it.
They get a lot out of it.
In Friendly Enemies, you talk about the fact that you went on, you had to create a moment with your father, and you went to these tears.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you automatically went to effective memory.
Yes, well, I didn't know what I was doing. What was I, 9 years old or something? And they needed a little girl in the play they were doing. And she was supposed to cry. And I just automatically thought about my father, if he died. And that brought the tears. No.
Right.
No.
So that whole thing about the method, drug up all this stuff about your dog dying, that's just hocus pocus, isn't it?
No, it's not hocus pocus.
You just imagined it.
The whole point of it is that I had never heard of that kind of work.
Right.
Naturally, at 9 years old, where am I going to hear it, right?
But your father hadn't died.
Yeah, I
so
made believe that my father died. Yeah.
You went as if.
Yeah, I did an as if, thank you. That's an important term. And that was it, and my mother was stunned. And she was surprised. I don't blame her. I mean, I never took acting lessons, but then neither did she.
And then you became a working actor.
Well, when I grew up a little,
right.
Yeah.
And you worked.
Yes.
And then, jump cut to 1970, somehow you began to develop a workshop for directors, which was revolutionary in this country.
That's right.
Teaching directors how to do what? Learn the Stanislavski system? How to get to the inner life of the character?
Well, it's even more fundamental than that. First of all, and why did I think of this? Because I'd worked with so many directors in film and in the theater, say, move there, and so on. They would never say anything. And so, I'd bring to them what I studied by that time, at least. I knew what I was doing. But they didn't. It was a rare director that really understood the actor as an instrument of his story.
Yet there was a Kazan.
Yeah, well, like a Kazan, exactly. And he had been an actor first, let's not forget that.
And there was a Jeff Corey.
Yes, exactly.
Who really knew.
Yeah, but he didn't direct film.
Now, they got that all from the theater lab or the group theater, or?
Well, Kazan studied, was a member of the group theater. Jeff Corey was in this young person's unit where they would get some training at the group theater. Then they came out here, a lot of people from the group theater when that dissolved in New York, and they formed the Actors Lab, which is the link, and that lasted 9 years, and it was destroyed by the Tenney Committee and the House Un-American Activities Committee, during that awful Red Witch Hunt in the 50s, and that destroyed it.
So Ball and Arthur Miller and
they were in New York. No, Arthur Miller was not at the Actors Studio.
No, but I mean, so many people were injured by that. By that blacklisting.
Some of them committed suicide. Some of them died of heart attacks. Some of them had no way of ever making a living. Some of them left the country. It was horrendous.
And yet these were some of the greatest minds of the American theater.
You got it.
And thank God that you have put this all down so people can share in a legitimate document. When I first read the book, and I'm not here to sell the book.
With this one?
Yeah, Friendly Enemies.
Well,
I thought to myself, wait a minute, I've read every acting book around. I read every acting book. And I thought, well, here's another acting book. And I read the book and I went, this is not another acting book. This is a manual for actors to understand the Stanislavski system, the craft.
But it's really for the directors.
Yes, I understand that.
That's my primary
But the
concern.
actors coming to Hollywood from all over the world.
Yeah,
and I've met hundreds of them, as you know, in my life.
Oh, yes.
People refer. The first question I had, which you helped me with, was, what do these people need? They need a craft. Okay, now my question to you is, what is the craft?
What is it?
What is the actor's craft?
The actor's craft.
I mean, there are 12-year-olds out there that need to know what the actor's craft is.
Well, I don't know about 12 because they can have to use their imagination, like I did.
Right,
when
still,
I was
they
9
want to
years
study
old.
the craft. They go on auditions.
Oh, I know.
So
they
what's
have
the
this
craft?
stage. Well, the craft is having a process by which you can enlighten and enliven the character that you're playing.
Okay, so if I go to an improv class for 3 years, do I have a craft?
No.
Okay.
What you do have, though, is the ability to think on your feet, to go with the moment, to have to listen and respond to your partners. But that's in the moment, and you'll never have to do that scene again, because it's all an improvisation, right? Now, but when you're dealing with the text, whether it's in the theater or it's on film, you're dealing with a character with a history, and you're dealing with other characters who have their histories, and sometimes you have to do very, very emotional scenes. Other times you have to laugh, So, and you don't feel like laughing, what I mean? So you have to find ways of making all of those obligations real, so that people can empathize with you. If you're faking it, it leaves the audience cold.
Yeah, there seems to be a wave going on about people encouraging people to memorize the words, tape the audition, and just memorize and just do it. The do it system.
Awful.
Now, what I did is I started to take the list of actions from your book and give them to people and say, try this and try this and try this and try this. And I noticed that their voice changed. And I noticed that their demeanor changed. And I recorded on tape for them because they're solid in their mind, many, many, many people. And there are many, many classes, memorize, go out and memorize and come in. Right. And they don't know that they think that's the end of it all. They think that is the technique. And I realized that when you go to school, you memorize the words and get the A, because I did that. I memorized the words and got the A in psychology and humanities. And I don't remember what the words were, because I also forgot them.
Because they had no value for you, you see. That's why you don't remember.
Does that happen to an actor?
Oh,
you bet. He just memorizes the words?
Well, I don't believe in memorizing the words, just memorizing the words. Some people can do that very well. If you don't know what the words are coming out of, you're not going to remember them very well. And that's why, I mean, I don't sweat it. Excuse me. I don't sweat the memorizing of the lines. Cheers, Sarah. If you're just memorizing, it's coming out of an emptiness. It has what you say has no value. It doesn't mean anything to you, and it certainly doesn't mean anything to your partner, because there's no subtext. They're not communicating anything.
And Lee used to say, well, you can't think of two things at the same time. You can't think of the dialogue.
Oh, well, no, but you shouldn't have to think of the dialogue. You should know. You should know your lines. But it's much easier to memorize something and be spontaneous if you know why you're saying it.
Which brings in the why, which is very much in your document.
Yeah, that's right. What am I doing and why am I doing it? And how do I feel about you on top of it all?
There was a long period of time where I would go to the movies or listen to actors and couldn't hear their voice.
Right.
And a lot of actors told me in Hollywood, where I've lived, as you know, since '68, that I'm supposed to just talk low. Or they're talking so low, you can't hear them. And that was kind of like a style of acting for a while.
Well, it's considered real. But probably...
But you can't hear what they're saying.
Well, well, there's something more with that sound man, too, You could say something about that. But I think that really came out of the fact that too many actors were overacting and articulating and very stagey. Well, that kind of acting doesn't work on stage either. Not as far as I'm concerned.
So there's a lot of actors who go under and over.
Well, the ones that go over there are not that many left. But now they're all going under. But I think that going under is a reaction to actors exaggerating, what they would call, and still call, stage actors.
Right.
But, however, for me, stage actors, if there's nothing behind the line, I don't know what they said. I simply don't understand. And I have to work too hard to put the words together and get some sense out of it. By that time, they're on to another page, so to speak. If there's nothing behind the line, it has no value for the audience. I don't care if it's on the screen or it's in the theater, except that in the theater it's more obvious and it's more pathetic.
There's a lot of misinformation or just plain ignorance about the method.
Oh, tremendous.
And I realize that it has some tie-in with some political reaction in the country with the un-American activities. But whatever, there seems to be a lot of resistance. I ran into a producer last week, and he said, I told him, I said, I lived at Lee Strasberg for many years, and I was in the master class for many years at the Actors Studio. And I said, I learned a lot from Lee because I was a very troubled young person. And Lee taught me a lot of things. And one of the things he taught me to do was to understand that there is an art, there is a craft, and there is a way to concentrate and focus. And this producer said to me, he says, I hope you're not into that method stuff. And I said, what is the method stuff? I said, you're talking about Jack Nicholson, or you're talking about, what is the method stuff? He said, well, you go in your life and you dredge up all that stuff. And I said, I don't remember Lee ever encouraging people to do that. And I'm certainly not defending Lee Strasberg. I don't work for Lee Strasberg. But I'm only interested in how do we define the method? I named my dog after it. This is the method. There's the method over there. But how do we define the method for these young people? They're 18, 20 years old. They want a method. They want something.
Well, I avoid that word,
right,
because of the stigma attached to it. So
if someone said to you,
the term I always use is process.
Process.
It's a means to an end.
Right.
You have to do the scales in order to be able to play the concerto. Well, it's the same thing. You have to practice tennis against the wall in order to finally play the game and play it second nature. You don't have to think about it. There's always a lot of work behind the brilliance of any profession, whether it's tennis or it's singing or it's playing a musical instrument or being a great actor. It's a lot of hard work. And it doesn't make any difference what title you use. If it works, use it. But most of the time, it doesn't work.
Last year, I don't mean to cut you off there. That's right. If it works, use it.
Mm.
The New Yorker magazine did an article of 17 pages on sense memory. And
really?
Yeah, I lost the article. I'm trying to retrieve it. And it went all the way back to Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb. and it went to sprinters. And I read the article, and I was really impressed because, you know, I became exposed to that technique for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And you talked about having a rock bottom technique. You know, is that part of that rock bottom technique?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the things that they discussed in the article is how athletes and sprinters and different people, that if they are they have sensory awareness and sensory training, they can tap a zone.
A zone.
Yeah, where they can make decisions real fast as a sprinter.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, going back to, you know, Lee Strasberg, I thought that's basically, you know, now that I'm older and I was about 30 at the time, and now I go back and I think about what he said, and I thought, you know, that basically that's what he was talking about, is getting into that
zone,
which they called relaxation or mental relaxation, or they had all different terms for it.
And I think, in a way, trusting your impulses. Because, I mean, I'm not a sports person, but if somebody is, you know, aware that somebody's going to come and tackle them, and there's an awareness, not necessarily God has to hit you, and he moves away, that's an impulse. But that comes out of trusting what you feel, which is, oops, something is crowding in on me. You know?
How does a young actor study to do that?
Well, they
don't get it from their life in the middle class.
No, but there are exercises in an acting class that encourage that spontaneity.
What exercises would you say they are?
Well, there are so many that I'm having.
Are they sensory exercises?
Well, they're sensory exercises, but I think sensory exercises are, it serves many functions. One is it does help you relax.
Yeah, because you can't do it if you don't relax.
No, wait, no. Yes, you can. You can relax your body. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, if you're thinking, I'm not hot. No,
yes, a lot of people will do that, but then they're third-eyeing themselves.
Right.
And if they would just allow themselves to just focus on something outside of themselves.
But I love that term that you wrote down in that book, third-eyeing themselves.
Yeah.
Because an awful lot of people do that.
Well, sure.
And that is the killer on an audition.
It's a killer when you're playing a role, period. It's not just about the audition. I mean, what if you get the audition, get the part, and then you're third-eyeing yourself when you're on camera or in the theater? I mean, it cuts off all your impulses because you're out here watching yourself. You're not in the moment. You know, you're just not.
Well, in a movie, they can stop.
Yeah, but they don't want to. It costs too much money.
No.
You know, it's too expensive.
And maybe that's why so many actors that are not following their instinct or impulses are
But that's right, they're not.
Just keep going.
That's right, they just keep going. They're just empty words. It really is pathetic. I mean, I can't watch a television series, for example. The acting is so formulaic, you know, it's just everybody, they all look alike, they all sound alike, and it isn't just in the casting, but it's the style. Everybody is kind of a monotone.
We're talking real fast.
Yeah.
Talking real fast.
It's scary, you know. There's nothing original about that.
Well, it's going to pass.
Nothing compelling about that.
It'll pass.
Yeah, and I wonder what's going to take over. I don't want to see it.
You don't want to see it?
No, I don't want to. I don't know. I worry.
One of the things that I find is that the actors come to LA and their main focus is, I have to go on an audition. And I think what happens there is that your material for directors relates so much to what an actor needs to know, which is basically how to break that script down.
That's right.
And by memorizing the script, sometimes I'll give them the script and say, oh, I know you like memorizing the script, so why don't you go out, sometimes I'll do a private lesson, why don't you go out and memorize the script for a while, I'll come back, and we'll see. And then they do it, you know, and these are people that are not, you know, off the bus. They've trained. They may even have a SAG card. And
that's not hard to get.
No. And then I'll tape them. And I'll go, oh, by the way, did you notice that in the scene there that she came in the room, that you were talking to an empty room? Oh, no. I said, did you forget to read the script? What did you read? I read the dialogue. I memorized the dialogue. Well, you left out half of the script.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
Well, how do we encourage them to read properly? Because when you come out of school and you got an A for reading, they suddenly think, these young actors, when they get to Hollywood, I know how to read. And, you know, they say, come in for a reading. You know, it's like you're a thermometer. Come in, we're going to read it. And they're going to read you. But actors never read, do they? Don't they talk?
Well, they're supposed to talk, then they're supposed to read.
But isn't reading different than talking? I mean, if you read out loud, see Dick run, run Dick run, they read punctuation.
Yeah, I mean, there's never thought about what's behind those words. Never. You know.
Well, that has to do with your scenic objective that you talk about, that directors need to.
Well, the directors don't know don't do it either.
Okay, so we have all these actors coming from all over the world to Hollywood to become television and film actors in commercials, and how should they prepare for these directors? Because I know can you tell me some of the directors that you influenced so greatly in your life, if you don't mind? I know we don't want to name drop, but really, we need to.
Well, the ones that are really hot now in particular, and have won awards. The top one right now is Alexander Payne.
Brilliant, Sideways.
He is brilliant.
Everybody was brilliant. Sandra Oh has a career now.
Who?
Sandra Oh.
Oh, I know, but they're not married anymore.
No, I know, but I mean, she.
Yeah, that's right. It didn't hurt being the wife of the director and getting that part.
She must have learned a lot.
No, but she was very good. She was excellent.
She's very good.
She gave it everything she had.
And Virginia Madsen?
Oh, well, Virginia, that's right. It made a star out of her.
Yeah.
I know her mother very well.
Yeah.
She did very good work.
She did good work. So what do these young actors coming to Hollywood, what do they need to do to prepare for these directors?
They need to study with the right teachers.
And who are the right teachers? How do we find the right teachers?
Oh, my God. Anybody that says, talks
they don't know how to pick an acting teacher.
Well, of course they don't, but anybody who gives you line readings, anyone who doesn't help you get behind or understand who that character is and what it is they want and how they feel about the other people and the other characters. Anyone who doesn't help you with that, run away. Just run. Anybody who talks to you about line readings, run away.
What about directed scenes in an acting class? Does that help an actor?
Well, it depends on the director.
The acting coach.
What
who has
you mean
no
the
history
teacher?
Of acting. No history of acting or directing. Is directing the actors.
Well,
does that help an actor get in touch?
Well, of course not.
Well, they think it does.
Well, because, everybody wants to be rich, everybody wants to be famous, and they don't think they have to pay their dues.
And what is the dues they have to pay?
They have to study with the right people.
Because they think paying their dues is going on a lot of auditions every week.
Oh, of course. And they do go on those auditions. And I have, friends that are 3 auditions in one day, for example, and particularly because of commercials. And they're constantly running around town, driving from one freeway to another because they have an audition. And, they're not looking, if it's a commercial, it's one thing, but if it's a movie or a television show, they've got to bring something to that. And they can't bring something to the audition if they haven't been taught to create something.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that are great in your book is explaining to the directors about how to pick a casting director. I could talk to you forever and ever and ever. And I know you don't have the time because you have to go to work. But you know what?
Yes, I do.
We haven't even covered half of it.
No, we haven't. We're
going to have to do it again, don't you think?
Oh, anytime you want.
Wow.
I feel like a pioneer and but there's a word for the people who are fixated on making things better.
Well, this is going to help actors, and this is going to help
I hope so.
Casting people. This is going to help agents and managers to really understand, coming from you. I have the highest respect for you and your background at the Actors Studio, and that someone like you has to be able to speak up and let people know where it's at. Because everybody's involved in show business. Can't sell sneakers without it.
I know, but when you get these pretty people who win beauty contests, everybody goes after them and wants to turn them into a star. And why should they think that they need to do any more than that? Well, they have not been conditioned to think along those lines.
Because many times that doesn't work, and they're going to see this interview.
I hope so. Because they won't last. They will not last.
And so...
pretty people are a dime a dozen. Sorry about that, guys.
Well, the agents are telling me now they can't make much money from them. Because I said to an agent one time, why would anybody pay her? She doesn't have a craft. We still have a craft. The director has a craft, the cinematographer.
Well,
there is still a craft in Hollywood, isn't there?
Well, there is certainly in the technical side.
Right.
But when it comes to directors and actors, not really. I mean, the directors know a lot about the technical end, but they don't know, they have no appreciation of the very thing that is going to humanize that script.
Public's not going to buy it if it's not truthful.
No.
Times are changing.
I hope so.
It costs $20 to go to the movies.
I mean, how can you relate to all those special effects?
You can't.
Oh, God.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's kind of nice. It's nice to do this. It's nice to get the word out. I feel like a missionary.
Well, that's it.
In a way we are.
Uh-huh.
That's right.